Hey, Mayflom here. You're in my studio. Today we're talking art journaling, specifically how to get a little more brave or how to take baby steps towards total creative chaos in your journal and just having the time of your life in your journal. I'll bottom line this for you right now, then we'll get into it, and then at the end I'll share some more thoughts and tips with you. Start with scratch paper. That's your bottom line. Try things on scratch paper. Just keep in mind that the paper you are working on can alter, change, or drastically be either more or less successful based on what mediums you're trying to use on what surface. Okay, so think about it like this. Have you ever tried to paint a piece of wood and the paint's like soaking in, or it's taking a lot more paint, maybe it's taking multiple layers, versus trying to paint on a pre-painted surface and everything just slides right on? You feel me? Same thing can happen with your papers, your surface materials. So remember, your results may vary. Let's jump on in.
So I am stamping on a scrap of watercolor paper, and it's cheap, crappy watercolor paper. So I've not been playing with the mediums I have, and I've also got visions for things I want and mediums I want to try that I don't have, but I'm trying to reconnect with the things that I do have first to remind myself like best practices, how things are working, what's good, what's not. And I really thought that distress inks on this watercolor paper, just kind of artistically smudged around, add some water and everything will blend. Well, that's absolutely not true. And in fact, my ink pad is severely dry, and this is not even showing up like a stamp anymore. This is hideous. This is terrible. But I wasn't trying to make something hideous and terrible. I'm sharing this with you because the beauty of the scrap paper is you're free. You can sit here and work on the scrap paper and test it, and there's no risk. The worst case scenario is either you collage over this and use the paper in a different way, or you toss it out. Now, this book is one I have ignored for many years. I would guess like 5-6 years. It's a beautiful giant art journal from Ranger, and there's canvas, and there's watercolor type paper, and like burlap or whatever. There's just all these different paper and materials to play with, and I want to fill this up. I want to fill this up by summer. So I'm looking through, and I've got experiments in here. I've got pages that I made. I've got beautiful things. I've got hideous things. I've got ideas like this. This is what I was thinking of, the one I was just on, and this one. They're very similar. I clearly made them at the same time, but that's what I was thinking about with the distress, is like I was streaking those markers, but that was on a painted surface, and the painted surface changes everything. So thumbing through my past success and failures really helps me remind me. Now, if you want to use an art journal, like I'm just putting some white acrylic paint down on this, by the way, so I can play in here and reignite this. But if you want to play in an art journal like this, but you want to use it to like record techniques or remember what you did, you can either on the opposite page make notes, at the bottom of the page make notes, wherever you might like, make some notes about things. And the big note that I don't need written down that I can see going through here is, if I'm going to be using the distress inks and trying to smear them around, I need a sort of slick surface like a painted surface. So now that this is dry, I've got a Copic marker, because guess what? That's what I have. I don't have any permanent black markers right now. This one's brown. And as soon as I did this, I realized I should have used my green Copic marker. I bought about 15 Copic markers many, many years ago, and I just haven't used them. I haven't done anything with them, so now I'm just using them whenever I need a quick, easy, wide, permanent marker. Now what I'm doing here is putting the distress ink on, that's a stamping block, but just any plastic. You just need a plastic surface or a non-stick surface so that you can pick it up with your brush and bring it on like it's watercolor. This is something I know. I've been Ranger educated. I know these things, but it's been so many years that it's not at the front of my mind. So that's another thing to remember, is I've got to be kind to myself when I'm trying to like work out these visions and work out these thoughts and work out these things that I want to do in my art journal or in creativity in general. some of these ideas I have maybe not tried out. I have maybe not pushed or tested or attempted in a decade or more. So why on earth would I think I just remember? It's going to take some time. It's going to take some ugly art. It's going to take some failed attempts. In this case, I'm kind of trying to just kind of shape this like the stamp, but bigger. And it's going to take some play. It's going to take allowing myself to be free enough to not worry about the end result. Okay, and I'll tell you right now, I don't love the end result on this because I don't have the right tools. And when this happens, I actually have a notebook where I keep like my wish lists and when budget allows, get these art supplies kind of notes. That's a note that's going to be going in here. Hey, I need like a black permanent marker. I need some more paintbrushes. There's some things that I need that I don't have anymore because I've used them up. And that's another important thing is, will you use it? When I find gaps like this in my art journaling and I say, boy, I would really use X, Y, and Z if I only had them, those are times that I will put those to the top of the list to purchase when I know I'm going to use them, when I know that the item is going to be put to good use and not just sit in a corner.
All right, so this was a complete disaster, but that's part of the process, and that's the freaking point, guys. Listen, you have to make disasters. You have to make ugly things. You have to make bad things. You have to try things that don't work. You don't get to just show up one day and everything's perfect. Not only is, unfortunately, that not how life works, that's not how crafting works. That's not how creativity and art work. You're going to make things you don't like. So the point of today's exercise was you can make things that you really, really don't like in a disposable way, right? We can make things we really, really don't like in a way that we can get rid of it. It can be gone. We don't have to see it again. But those lessons we learned, those things we tried, those risks we took on scrap paper will stay in our mind so that we learn, so that we grow, so that the next time we go to do it, we don't go like, oh yeah, you remember that your ink pad needs to be replaced, and even with refresher, it's too old and too weak, and it's on the textured papers, it just doesn't stamp well. You remember that? Well, now I will. I haven't tried to use that ink pad in quite a while. How would I remember that? Low stakes, okay? Low stakes, low risk. If you wanted, could you have an entire art journal that was just dedicated to the flops? That was bad art only? Yes, but this is my caution to you. When I have a book that is intentionally a book of, I'm just not trying in here at all. There's two different things. The one thing is to not try at all, right? To intentionally make things ugly, to see how ugly can I make this. That's a fun game, and it's one that I love to play. But if I'm not trying to make things that look good, if I'm not failing, if I'm not making ugly art that I go, ooh, that did not work, that is just ugly, then I am failing because I'm not taking risks, because I'm not trying new things, because I'm not testing my limits or testing how far I can take things. Okay? So disposable, right? Disposable, or yeah, if you had a book that you were like, this book is going to be where I just play and I'm not going to worry about things and I'm just going to have a good time, that can work too. It's going to be personal. Remember that. There's no one right way here. There's no one course to excellence or your own goals, whatever that might be. It might just be the goal is we're having some fun, we're trying some things. End of goal. That is a wonderful goal. That's what I'm trying to get back to. I just haven't been in my journals enough, and it shows, and I want to get back. So there's that for you. If you've got questions, if there's techniques you like to see, products you like to see, whatever it might be with creativity, drop me a comment and be sure to like and subscribe so you're seeing future videos, because I've got a lot in store and I'm looking forward to sharing a lot with you. I hope this has been helpful if you're trying to come up with things. And I will remind you, if you think journaling or art journaling is not for you, it's different for everybody is what I will say. And there's a lot of different purposes. There's a lot of different uses for it. If doing disposable, right, scrap paper, or this was messed up, I'm going to use the back of this. If that works well for you, that's awesome. But remember that there's a lot of different purposes and a lot of different end games for journaling, for art journaling. So you don't have to have the goal is, like the most beautiful Instagram grid of all time. Your results may vary, your goals may vary, and that's a wonderful, beautiful thing. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time.